Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right, we'll wait just another few minutes here, and we'll just talk with everybody in chat. We get a few more people. We each have 5 movies that probably are of our favorite Disney movies all time. So we're gonna go down the list of our movies here, and you'll have to let us know if any of our movies are on your list. Yeah, Tracy, that's what I figured. There's going to be a lot of live streams with people stuck in the house. I tried to look on the live place to find kind of an open spot so I didn't step on anybody's toes being our first time streaming, and it looked like from like 9 to 10 or 9 to 9:30 was open. So if we go 9 to 10, we hopefully aren't stepping on anybody's toes. Yeah, Orlando guy. Yeah, you've already yeah, check. You've already surpassed them. You're now officially the #1 show on the Magic and the Mouse podcast after 7 days. You still got a ways to go to beat the Dole Whip Dad first episode all time. So you got a little bit to go, but for 7 days, you're the man. All right, I guess we'll probably get started here. We're going to do. You want to start off, Bill, with your first there, and hang on 1 second here. We'll might as well get it started off right. Bill, why don't you start it off? Why don't you tell us what your #5 movie all time for you is?
All right, sounds good. Yeah, my #5 all time has to be 101 Dalmatians. As a kid, I've watched it probably 100 to 150 times, and that's the original version, and then the remake version with Jeff Daniels in it. I thought both were great, and the live action version with Jeff Daniels, I thought they did an outstanding job with that, especially with casting Cruella de Vil. I thought they just knocked it out of the ballpark. I love this movie. I can watch it over and over again, and I've been showing my kids all the old-time Disney movies, and that seems to be one of their favorites too.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like the original one. That was the live action. I like the original one, the cartoon version that came out back when I was younger, and that was a good one. But 101 Dalmatians, and then what was it, 102 Dalmatians they came out with later on?
Yeah, a little bit later on, another animated version. It was a good remake, but it was nothing like the original, that's for sure.
All right.
What do you have for 5, Dad?
What do you guys think of Bill's #5? Right, bring up here. I'll get ready for my #5. And I'm really, this will be showing my age with my #5, that's for sure.
You got an entrance to your #5? Oh boy.
No, there's my #5. The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes came out in 1969 on Christmas Eve with Kurt Russell. I was a big fan of all the Kurt Russell movies that came out, The World's Strongest Man and The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes. And it was all based around the, I guess what's it called? Mayfield College.
Yeah, Mayfield.
There's quite a few movies that they did with the Mayfield College that came out in that time.
Yeah, same actors and everything too. Kurt Russell played in a couple of movies that had Mayfield College in the same supporting cast as well.
Yeah, he was in quite a few of them, and a lot of all the kids that were his friends at Mayfield College. They were in quite a few of them also.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I finally watched it when Disney Plus came out. You kept talking about it, and I think we talked about it on one of our podcast episodes, and you got me intrigued. So I went and watched that, and then I watched The World's Strongest Man with Kurt Russell right after that too. I thought that was really good. It came up on the recommend, so I popped it on, and I enjoyed both of them.
Yeah, that was when Disney Plus came out back in November. That was my first episode. I couldn't wait. I hadn't seen that movie in years, and
yeah, it's hard to find it.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that, and that's first day. That's the movie I saw. I think I've watched it 2 times since. I've watched the other ones, The World's Strongest Man, and there was a couple other ones that Kurt Russell was into. I'm kind of forgetting the name of them right now, but they were all all pretty good back then.
Hey, Stevie Lee, just saw you popped in the chat.
But I'm sure quite a few people in here probably never even seen or heard of that Disney movie, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. I never heard of it until you brought it up in our podcast. I was like, okay. So then I looked it up on IMDb, like I do everything, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to check this out when it comes out in November. And I liked it. I've actually watched it twice since it Disney Plus released, so that's a good one.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of my favorite, and that's why it's on my list. I'm sure, like I said, a lot of people probably never heard of it.
Yeah, Tracy Glenn just popped in and said they never heard of it. Samantha Carpenter has, though. That's pretty cool. It's a good movie. Check it out on Disney Plus for sure.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. Like I said, Kurt Russell, when he was a kid, he was even in movies for Disney when he was younger. I guess when he was in this movie here, he was probably in his late teens, maybe pushing 20 years old, somewhere around there. But he was in a lot of movies when he was younger, also for Disney.
I wonder that had to have been around the same time he was playing for that minor league baseball team out in, where was that, Washington or Oregon?
Oregon, yeah. His father owned the baseball team, and there's a show. I don't know if it was on Disney Plus or not that you could watch it or not. I remember
I saw it on Netflix. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but that's
the battered bastards of baseball or something like that.
Inglorious Bastards of Baseball or something like that.
Battered, yeah. That came out. That was really good to watch, especially like his dad's whole career and then him owning the only independent minor league team. I know we're kind of getting a little bit off topic, but it's a little cool Kurt Russell backstory. Actually played on the team his dad owned out in Oregon. It's probably around the same time frame.
Yeah. It was probably, if not, it's probably a little after. In the 70s, I think that was the height of his dad's minor league team out there.
Yeah, it was the only one in the country.
You ready for your number 4?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for number 4.
What do you have for number 4, Bill?
So Peter Pan. Now, I go a bunch of different ways with this. Obviously, the original is by far my favorite, but I have 2 remakes / remastered versions that are my like runners up, if you will. They evenly match. One everybody's heard of. It's Hook with Robin Williams, and you can't go wrong with Robin Williams in Disney movies. He did an outstanding job as the genie, and then he did a great job in the live action Hook. And I thought casting Dustin Hoffman to play Captain Hook was a great move. The other movie I'm talking about here is Pan. Not a lot of people have heard of this. It came out in like the late 2010, that decade, middle to late, but it ended up doing very poorly in the box office. But I watched it a couple times and I thought it was outstanding. It shows how Peter Pan became Peter Pan, and him and Hook were actually friends, and they formed a relationship and had to take down Captain Blackbeard. And I thought that was a really cool story. I think the reason why it didn't get a lot of attention from the media or the public is because of how animated it was and how much CGI they threw into it. It was a little too futuristic for the Peter Pan universe, but I don't know. I liked it. I liked the whole backstory to it.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of them. I saw the original, and I caught, bits and pieces when you were little watching the other one, Hooked, and all those. But the one I remember is the original. I mean, obviously, that was before my time when it came out, but I saw it quite a few times when I was younger. A lot of times, like they, what Disney used to do back when you were a kid, the movies went into a vault, the vault they called it, and then like 7 years later they came back. Well, when I was a kid, a lot of times the movies would come back out to the movie theater from Disney, that hadn't been for a long while, and they would show them again, or watching The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights when I was a kid. That's where a lot of those movies I saw them.
Yeah, and then they revamped that on Disney Channel with the actual Disney Vault. They would play all those old movies, and then they'd show the Disney Channel original movies, which that's another good one. It's St. Patrick's Day, so we have to watch Luck of the Irish tonight. Kid's playing basketball, finds out he's a leprechaun, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I love the whole Disney Vault idea, and Disney Plus just cracked it wide open, and I'm loving it.
All right, now this one here, my movie for number 4. It was the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater when I was a kid. And let's see, everybody, you can guess what it is.
All you gotta do is look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife.
Yeah, the original Jungle Book. That was my favorite movie. When I was a kid, that was my favorite movie. Like I said, that was the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater, and it had quite a cast. Bring it up here on IMDb. It had quite a cast in the original.
Yeah, they've done a lot of remakes of that and offshoots. I haven't seen all of them. There's one just called Jungle, and then there's actual Jungle Book, and then there's one called Mowgli, I think. There's just so many, but you can't compete with the original. They're okay, but like I said, I haven't seen all. And the original Jungle Book is by far the best out of any that they've tried to remake. I think they should just leave it alone at this point.
I just watched it probably about a month ago with Brian's daughter, my 2.5-year-old granddaughter, about a month ago, and we sat and watched it. She made it through about an hour of it, which was pretty good, but I was able to catch it all. But it had some good people. Phil Harris played Baloo the Bear. Sebastian Cabot, he was a big actor back in the 40s and 50s, and he was probably his best role on TV was from Family Affair. He played the butler. And then little known actor at the time that played in it was Ron Howard's brother, Clint. And he played the elephant in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Now, the one thing about this movie, and it never came out, the Buzzards. Originally, I thought the voices of it were supposed to be the Beatles, and they were kind of drawn to look a little bit like the Beatles at the time.
Yeah, I never knew any of that. I like that you have the app up on your iPad there, giving us the fun facts. I like to do that when we're running the podcast. I got my phone plugged in, charging right now. I normally have it up here, getting all those weird little facts and quotes. But okay, thank you. Got another phone.
Yeah, it's easier for you to see, though. You know, I'm half blind anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. Let me bring IMDb up. That way, when I'm talking about my movies, I can be a little bit more descriptive and throw in some interesting facts you might not know about them.
All right, are you ready for your?
Yeah, we can go on to my number 3. I'll have no problem talking about my top 3. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know that, especially the number 2. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to Bill's number 3.
So my number 3 is The Rookie, starring, oh man, why am I forgetting his name now? Dennis Quaid. Thank you. Sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fart there. So this is a story about, if you've never seen it, he was a pitcher when he was in high school in baseball, and this is one of the reasons why the movie's standing out to me. And he never quite made it. He had arm problems, and then he ended up being a coach in West Texas, where he finally ended up moving because he was a military brat. His dad moved there when he was in the military, which is another reason why it stands out to me now, because I am currently serving in the United States Army. So there's another thing I can look forward to when I watch it. But so he ends up out near El Paso and coaching high school baseball. And one day his kids were just ragging on him because he never did anything with his baseball career. And he lets one rip, and it goes at like 98 miles an hour and just blows this kid away. And they all keep talking to him throughout the season, like, you should go try out and go for the majors again. He's like, no, I'm almost 40. I can't. Like, there's no way they're going to take me. I'm twice your guys' age. They're looking at you kids. And so they said, all right, we'll make you a bet. If we make it to the playoffs, then you have to go to one of these major league tryouts. So long story short, I don't want to ruin anything, but that's what ends up happening. And you can look all this stuff up on IMDb. It's all a true story, but he ends up making it and pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays, which is another reason why I like the movie, because we go down to Central Florida all the time, and I've been to that stadium. I played in that stadium. It's awesome. So it's another little weird connection for me, but I just love this movie. It's baseball, military's mixing everything together, and one of those type of field of dream environments where never give up on your dreams. Anything can happen. It was an outstanding movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I catch that movie every once in a while. That's one of my one of the movies I like, just for the fact it's baseball. It's probably one of the top 25 baseball movies of all time, I think. There's been a lot of great ones, but that was a good one. And since it was a true story, also made it a good story. And I believe he pitched for a few years in the majors. 3 or 4 years he wound up pitching for the majors. And the funny part about that, I don't know what years it was that he actually made it to the majors. I forget. It was in the 90s, I believe. But yeah. I remember I used to go down and watch spring training, and the Minnesota Twins played in Orlando at the time. And they used to stay at the hotel. I forget the name of the hotel at that time. It used to be. It might be a DoubleTree now. It's like Twin Tower. hotels right near the outside of Universal Studios. And the Twins used to stay at the hotel next door. So I used to stay at one of the Twin hotels there. And I, used to go and try and get autographs when I was younger and stuff like that. And they used to play, their stadium was right outside, their right field wall bordered up against the football stadium where, what's the bowl game they play there every year on New Year's Day?
It's not the Orange Bowl. That's down in Miami. I can't remember now.
Yeah, well, whatever. The football stadium in Orlando, was their spring training home and their minor league team. And that's where he got started. I believe it was their single A team at the time that played there. And that's where he got started.
Here's a fun fact of the movie I forgot about. I knew it until I read it here on IMDb. So he did most of his own pitching unless it required him to throw like a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and then he had a stunt double. But he's right-handed, so what they did was they flipped the shot around when they did it, and it was filmed that way. Hi, honey.
Hi, cat.
Okay. Love you. Good night.
Good night, Jordan.
Grandpa said hi.
And I thought it was funny too. When he got called up to the majors, him and the other guy, they walked into the locker room right in your neck of the woods down there at the Rangers Stadium down there in Texas. And he walked in and they showed the uniforms. Oh, where'd you go, Bill? There you are. You're back.
I'm right here. Go upstairs, honey. Go to bed.
And Wade Boggs was on the team at the time, Jose Canseco. But that was towards the end of their careers when he came up. So, yeah, that was a good movie.
Hey, you ready for your number 3?
Yeah, my number 3. My number 3 is another oldie. My number 3 is the original Mary Poppins. Now, the one that came out a few years ago, that was a good movie, but nobody beats Dick Van Dyke in the movie. I just thought it was a really good movie, and that came out. I was only 2 when that movie came out, but I remember seeing it when I was a kid on the Wonderful World of Disney, and it was a really good movie. That's probably a classic. That movie. That's a classic Disney movie.
It's definitely a classic. I haven't shown the kids yet, but I remember watching it a couple times growing up, and just how they mesh animation in with live action. It was kind of like impressive at the time with what they had to work with. But yeah, I'd say that's a good top 5 choice for sure.
And I think Julie Andrews, I don't think that there's a bad movie that she's ever made. That's for sure.
No way.
That she's ever been in, and it's been really good. And then the movie they did a few years ago about how the making of Mary Poppins came about. What was it? Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah, Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah, that was a good spin-off movie for Mary Poppins, telling the story. And the woman who wrote the what was her Travelers or something like that was her name that wrote the Mary Poppins. She was a difficult woman to deal with, and this movie only came to light because Walt Disney was persistent. And by that Saving Mr. Banks, he was like years and years and years after her to try to get Mary Poppins made. Yeah,
I thought they'd cast Tom Hanks to play Walt very well. They did a good job picking him. He knew his stuff, and yeah, it's from when I say it took him decades to be able to get the rights for that, and even then, when he finally got the rights, he was still a pain in the butt.
All right, Tracy. Yeah, I didn't know that, Tracy. Sound of Music was filmed after Mary Poppins. That's interesting. I'm not sure exactly what year Mary Poppins did come out, but that was in 64. I mean, The Sound of Music, I guess that came out of what, about 65 or 66? All right. Now, here's another bit. This is going to be a shocker with Bill to get into his number 3.
Yeah, so my number 3 is Angels in the Outfield. Again, another baseball movie, and another reason why I liked it, because I was close to this age the first time I saw it as the lead character that played in it, but Danny Glover, Tony Danza star in it. Doc from Back to the Future plays in it as the lead angel. It's just another great baseball/kids movie for Disney to come out with. And they were swearing in the dugout, and the kid goes up to Danny Glover and tells him that Angels didn't like swearing. He thinks he's nuts, and he sees this guy's not playing good, so he tells him to stop swearing, and all of a sudden they're making these miraculous plays. It's another all-around good live-action Disney movie from the early 90s. So I probably watched this a couple hundred times too.
Now, you'll probably remember what the kid's name was in the movie, Roger's little buddy that tagged along with him.
Oh man, hold on, I got it right here. I know exactly what
I
you're
thought
talking about.
he made the movie, the little kid. He was just funny,
JP?
the little tag along kid, and I thought he was really funny in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, he was the guy that the Angels had as their like assistant that would get him whatever they needed. He made his life hell. Like both of them did. He had him running back and forth. They were covering him with nachos and soda all the time.
And yeah, and that team that they had there, the Angels team, that reminded me of some of the teams that you used to play on. That was a ragtag bunch there.
Yeah, it was like another bad news Bears, and somehow we made it work and we make it to the playoffs. I don't know how, but yeah, that's another reason why I like it.
Now I'm guessing that movie is under contract somewhere else because I saw the list of the movies that are coming to Disney Plus in the future, and that's not coming for like another year, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. It has to do with the companies or the streaming services that currently have it under contract for how long they're allowed to view it, and they didn't want to give it up because Disney's basically pulling everything back. So they were kind of like, oh, I want to hold on to this. Disney was a little bit more lenient on some of these. Obviously, the more dominant Disney movies, they wanted on there immediately, so they pulled them no matter what. But they'll end up cycling their way through. New older movies will start to come on there as they see who's watching what, and they have their charts up, and they'll start kicking movies off and putting more movies from the vault on, and it's just going to keep evolving. And then when they throw these shows in that they're talking about making, like these new Star Wars shows and all their Disney Plus original shows, it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. There's at least a half a dozen movies, and I forget what some of the other ones were, but the Angels in the Outfield stood out because I know that was one of your favorite movies. You watched that movie. You probably, when you were little, could have repeated every line in the movie. There's no doubt. Because when you were that age watching the movies, all you did was watch movies and go outside and want to play baseball in the backyard. That was it.
Yep. And then I'd watch it, and then I'd take the VHS out and put it in the little rewinder, put it down and rewind the tape, and then I'd go out and play. And when it was done, I'd come back in and pop the movie back in and watch it again.
Yeah, I'm related to our top fives here. Did you see everybody that I don't know if they did this early because what's going on now, but they released Rise of the Resistance, I think it was. It's out on DVD, and you're able to download it and purchase it and download it. And I got the email this afternoon. There was a bunch of places that you could get it.
Yeah, they released that early. I actually got it on my Vudu account, and that's how I watched it the other night. It ended up being pretty good. Out of the first three, I put this in our most recent podcast episode, but yeah, that definitely saved the most recent trilogy of that franchise, not including The Mandalorian. You can't even compete with that nowadays, but I thought it was an outstanding movie. J.J. Abrams did a good job of saving it, and Kylo Ren's character really developed into something. I didn't see it going that way, but I'm not going to get too far into that right now, but check out our podcast for a little bit more info on that.
All right. We'll get into one of mine, number 2. The Absent-Minded Professor. Now, Robin Williams, I believe, did a remake of that a few years back, but this is the original one with Fred MacMurray. I love Fred MacMurray, watching his movies when I was a kid, and I still to this day every morning watch on MeTV every morning. I believe it's at 7 or 7:30, and My Three Sons. That was one of my favorite TV shows growing up as a kid, and that's still on reruns every morning. And Fred MacMurray, I just watched this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I hadn't seen it in years, the original, and it's still a good movie as I remember when I was a kid. It was a really good movie.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that I ended up watching when Disney Plus first came out because you were talking about it so much on our podcast, and it was Flubber. That was the remake of it. Right. Same college, everything.
Yeah, it was everything was the same, but the name.
Yep, that was a good one. And then when I was watching Absent-Minded Professor, I'm like, wow, this all sounds a lot like Flubber, and made you feel like that, obviously without all the same particulars. But yeah, I thought they did a good job in Flubber remaking the Absent-Minded Professor after I finally saw it. It was a good movie. I like it for being 1961. The special effects that they had in it, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I don't know how they got the car flying around when he was over Washington, D.C., flying over the Capitol in the car, and they were going to shoot him down. And
yeah, it was early 60s.
Yeah, it was pretty good technology, I guess, for the time, how they did it. I'm sure it was a green screen or whatever back then, but for the time, it was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
All right, let's see what we got here for Bill's
Right, going up.
number
Number
one.
one here.
Let me bring it up here. Now this, I know this movie for a fact when Bill was younger. He knew all the parts of the genie, the original Aladdin.
Yep. I mean, like I was saying earlier, Robin Williams and Disney movies, Aladdin, Flubber, and Hook. Like, he did a great job. I don't think anybody could ever fill his shoes. Like, being honest, nobody's ever going to be able to pick up for Robin Williams movies as a stand-up comedian. Nothing. He was outstanding. He was way beyond his time. Kind of how Bill Murray was beyond his time, and he's still. His movies are even relevant today, and everybody watching for the first time are like, "Wow, this is amazing." But I really enjoyed the remake they came out with last year with Will Smith. I thought he did a really good job at filling in the genie role, and all the music to it was incredible, and the dancing and the choreography was outstanding. I thought they did a really good job remaking Aladdin, and I was definitely pleased with how it came out. I wasn't too sure about it when I first heard, and they were doing a live action Aladdin with Will Smith as the genie, but I decided to give it a chance because that was my favorite movie when I was a kid. I'd sing every song, and like my dad was saying, I could put the TV on mute and I'd rehearse, or not rehearse, I'd recite every single line of the movie. Man, so many memories with that. That one I definitely probably watched about 300, 400 times, because that was another one I just put back in the rewinder and sent it back.
Bill's not exaggerating. When he was little, and even to this day, when he watches a movie, you know, I could have a firecracker lit next to his ear or right in front of his face, and he's watching a movie and he's oblivious. He wouldn't even know it was there. And he always had the stone face when he was a kid. He just had the.
Oh, yeah. I started drawing a little bit.
Movies. All right. We're going to get into my number one. Now, my number one here, bring it up here. Swiss Family Robinson. That was my probably all-time favorite Disney movie. Well, it definitely is. And I remember watching that was like a kid, and then one of the actors from the movie, he wound up being in one of my favorite TV shows in the 70s, Hawaii Five-0, Bookham Dano. He was in the movie, and that was James MacArthur. They had a good cast. And now the one kid that played the younger brother, Kevin Corcoran, he was in quite a few Disney movies when he was younger. Some of the movies are just slipping my mind what they were, but he was in quite a few Disney movies when he was a kid. But this was just, I mean, the setting of it. Who didn't, when you were a kid, want to, live in a tree house? And now even today, they're famous with the TV shows, and that's every kid's dream. And that was just a great movie, and the setting and the whole plot of the movie was really good.
So even this one that you're talking about came out in 1960. I'm sure that's the one you remember watching over and over again.
Yeah. Now I didn't know until a couple months ago, but there was one that was older. That came out, I think, in the 40s or late 40s or early 50s. Yeah,
it came out at exactly 1940, so 20 years before this one. This is kind of a remake, and Disney did their own thing to it, but it's also on Disney Plus. It's part of their intellectual properties right now. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I'm hearing, it's pretty much the same movie. And this is another one that I ended up watching when Disney Plus came out in November, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was like a 2-hour-long movie, and that was almost unheard of back in that time. Movies ran an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half at most, and this kept you entertained the entire 2 hours. They did a great job with this.
That's pretty. I was just reading a little bit of the chat here. Jeffrey said he's a big baseball fan, and he's a commissioner of Cal Ripken Baseball in Rhode Island, where he lives. Yeah, Bill's been, when he was younger, we traipsed all over the country. He was big into baseball, and when he was in high school, he had pro scouts following him. And if you can see the picture above my head here, let me get out of the way here. That picture above my head and this one right here, they're both Bill when he was in high school. The one above my head, he was a Under Armour preseason All-American, and that's when he played out in, where was it, Tucson, Arizona, Bill? Is that where that was?
Yeah, that was in Tucson. We ended up doing a walk-around tour of both University of Arizona and then Arizona State. That was pretty cool.
And Bill wound up playing in college for a year down in Daytona, and he had quite a few pro scouts following him for a while there. And his junior year going into senior year of high school, I don't know how many miles. We spent, 6 weeks in Florida, and the one picture, that one right there, no, that one right there, hard for you to see. That was down in coastal Carolina. That was a pretty good day Bill had down there.
Oh, that summer was brutal. I remember we did the Florida trip, and then we did kind of like a northeastern trip where it was one weekend, and I was down where were we? And we were outside of Baltimore. I did a MLB showcase there, and then we were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and then I came back and had a doubleheader that same day as that we were in Baltimore or whatever, and with my summer league county team. My arm almost fell off.
Now this picture here, that was Bill's teammate. I don't know if anybody could see that in the chat too good. That was Bill's teammate for 3 years when they were kids. Jeffrey, I'm sure you know about the Dreams Park in Cooperstown, and that's Mike Trout when he was 11 years old. Bill played with Mike for 3 years, and they played against him for 3 years in high school. And we talked about this on the baseball show that me and Dole Whipped Out are doing now, Bush League Baseball. Mike only hit in one double play
his senior year.
His 4 years of high school.
No, that was just his senior year.
Oh, okay. It was a senior. I thought it was all 4 years of high school.
No, because he didn't come back a beast until in between his junior and senior year, and then he like lost his neck. It just went from his shoulders to his ears, and he was running like 3.9 seconds down the first base from the right side. It was insane.
Yeah, but Bill was the only one to turn a double play on him that year, and it was funny because it was in Bill's home field, and there was what I'd say about 15, 20 major league scouts there, scouts from the MLB, and it was that was a crazy game that day.
Oh, I couldn't see the parents with all the scouts lined up on the fence. You couldn't see the bleachers. It was insane. Like both sides, like they were all lined up down. And I remember you out with your friends out in left center field, just sitting back there on the tailgate watching because that was the best view in the house because all the scouts were lined up.
Yeah, I was one of those dads. There was woods out in the outfield. I would set up a chair, and we would literally tailgate in high school. We'd have our cooler out there. Anyway, we're getting a little off topic here. That's just trying to explain the baseball pictures behind me. And Jeffrey brought up the baseball. That was a wrong move, Jeffrey, because we can talk baseball 24/7. That's for sure.
Yeah, you have to check out Bush League Baseball. I haven't got on it yet, but when I do, I'm sure it's going to be a long one. We can just keep going. Bringing up something in the chat, Samantha said, have I seen Onward? Yeah, actually, I saw it last Friday night when it first came out. That was a really good one. That was kind of one of those movies that you didn't know what to expect because you didn't see a whole lot of previews coming up with the exception of like the last week or two before it was released. But Chris Pratt did a great job voice acting. So did Tom Holland. Those were like the two main characters. They did an outstanding job, I thought. The animation was great, and the whole story to it was a little bit sad, but then the ending completely made up for it. It was a good one. I'd definitely go see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. It's on my to-do list to get out, but who knows when I'm going to be able to get out to go see it now with all this nuttiness going on here.
So speaking of that, me and my wife saw something online earlier today that instead of releasing movies, in the movie theaters, they're going to be releasing them pretty much like a 2-day rental. So you'd pay the same price as a movie ticket, and then it would be like on demand. You could rent it for 2 days at home. Oh,
that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be real good.
They haven't released a date yet, but I did see that Mulan, they postponed the opening, and that was supposed to open what, the 26th or 24th, somewhere around there at the end of the month, and they haven't given a date for that yet. I'm sure that's going to be pushed back a couple months.
Yeah, that was supposed to open up the 27th. I actually had it all lined up. I had a night out to myself. My wife was like, "You just go by yourself. I'll take care of the kids. I know you've been waiting for this for like years since they announced that they were coming out with another one." And I was kind of disappointed to hear that they pushed it back, but I understand why now. But there was a couple other Disney property movies that got pushed back. I can't remember the names right now, but it was a 20th century picture, and then there was a Searchlight film that they pushed back as well with no new release date schedule. I can't remember the names.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Who knows how long this is going to last? And like Tracy was saying when we first started here, that there's going to be a lot of people live streaming. And I was sorry I missed the Zippity Doodads live stream earlier. I wanted to catch it, but I was trying to figure out the vMix to get up on there, and I had to go to Plan B here, the StreamYards here, and go with that. And this was pretty easy to use, so I'm about to see what we're going to do in the future with it, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, what I said, or what did it say when you came into the chat? You can hold up to 6 people in this thing. I mean, that seems like it'd be a little crazy to have 6 people up on the screen, but it's cool that you could do it.
Yeah, it'd be like the Brady Bunch there.
Yeah, exactly. And you have you in the middle, like looking up at people.
Yeah, I've seen 4 on it, but yeah, we'll have to see what we're going to do for what we plan on doing with me and Jeff as far as the baseball show we're doing. The VMix is going to be the better thing, I think, for us because we're going to be
Hmm.
able to record in 4K and all do shows and all like that. So eventually, once I get that figured out, wasn't able to get the video up in that tonight. I had everything else up and I had it ready to go, but I wasn't able to get the video up. But this worked out pretty good, and Jeff's told me a little bit about this program, and I'm sure you know about it, Tracy. I think you and Kenzie use this also. I've seen the logo up in her stream, so we might go with this for a while for the time being if we're going to do some live streams now.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy. I just made sure my mic and my camera was on and typed my name in, and I was good to go. Super easy. Dad just sent me an email. I had no problem with it. It's kind of like the thing we use for our podcast.
Not to interrupt you, Bill. Samantha brought up in chat that the Black Widow got pushed back also. I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just happening more and more with the CDC's new released guidelines, or not guidelines, but recommendations, if you will, that came out Sunday night saying not to group in more than 10 people for the next 8 weeks. So that's definitely got people a little bit more worried. So they're going to start pushing more and more things back. Who knows how long the baseball season will be out? Probably won't have NBA come back or the NHL come back, but we'll see.
Yeah, the way it's looking for them, I would say if this stretches on too much longer, I would say their seasons are over, and that's a shame. The ones I really feel bad for are the college kids, you know, the March Madness and the baseball and the spring stuff. I mean, especially the seniors. I'm hoping that we'll see what happens. I doubt if they'll do it, but they should do it. Grant them a 5th-year eligibility. The players that just for the spring sports, or well, the winter too, the basketball, because there was, you know, some teams like Rutgers. How long had it been since they made the tournament and they were going to make it? And this kid's, you know, play all their life for a shot like that, and now it's like taken away from them. So I hope they give them a year of eligibility.
Yeah, I saw a post from the Florida Gators today, baseball team. It's made it sound like they weren't going to have a season, like their season was done.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's what
I don't know. We'll see.
I know we're getting a little bit off movies here now, but we've anybody else in chat, you got anything interesting you want to bring up as far as the Disney movies? Bill's your movie guy. He knows just about every movie that was ever made. Every time I would get texts and with movie quotes all the time from Bill, and like, what are you talking about? And I know it's from a movie, so I got to take the quote and Google it and see where it comes from.
Yeah, I'm getting a little rusty with the Disney movies, but the ones that I've seen, like I said, 150 to 200 times, I could put them on and hit mute and recite the whole thing. So, yeah, ask anything. Let's see. Orlando guy put up his top 5. The Rescuers Down Under. That's a good one. Brave Little Toaster at number 4. Number 3 is Pinocchio. 2's Jungle Book, and 1 Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, those are all. It's so hard to pick the top 5s. I had to go with the ones that I had the fondest memories of growing up. Like if I had to rate all-time top 5 Disney movies, I probably couldn't do it.
Yeah, we had Richard on the Orlando guy. He was on the podcast last week. We brought it up a little bit in the beginning here, but he brought that up, and when I was talking to him, I asked him towards the end of our lightning round there of questions, his favorite Disney movie all time, and he brought up the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I watched that over the weekend, Richard. And you're right, the score in that movie, the music in that movie was very, very good. It was awesome, and the movie was really good also.
Yeah, my wife just put a comment in the live chat. You brought up your favorite Disney movies. What are your top favorite Disney princess movies? Oh boy, this will be a good one. Number 5 would probably have to be Wreck-It Ralph. It's a little bit newer, but we were watching it probably about 10 times in the last week with the kids.
Ralph is the princess?
No. So the princess is Princess Vanellope von Schweetz or whatever. She's like a glitch in the movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Dad, but it ends up having all of the Disney princesses in it together. Well, in the second one anyway, when he breaks the internet. That's a good one. Number 4, Cinderella. I'd have to go with that one. That's just an all-time classic. 3, I'd say Snow White. Oh man, this is like tough. Maybe I have to change the order around a little bit. Oh man,
sorry to interrupt you. You got to read the Tracy's text here. Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, and Star Wars.
Oh, you got another Star Wars fan? Oh man,
he's got them all there. Yep, all Star Wars.
Yeah, Princess Leia.
Yep.
Yeah, I see what you're going for there.
Yeah, I knew he was a Star Wars fan because him and his daughter Kenzie were down in Florida, I guess about a month ago, and they were in Epcot during the art festival, and he bought a pretty cool piece of art. I believe it was the Mandalorian Baby Yoda, or what do they call him, the child?
Yeah, the child. Everybody
Yeah.
just calls him Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I saw that, Tracy, too. I saw your post there a minute ago that your Kenzie's senior play got canceled. That's a bummer. I know from watching her streams and all like that, she's in the music and stuff like that. What part did she have in the play? All right. Trying to read the chat back here of any. Oh, Fiona. Okay, that's a
Like
shame.
Fiona.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like you said, that's something. Your senior year. Usually at school, you always remember your senior year, all the stuff that you do, and that's just bummed. Like all this stuff the kids are having taken away from them. It's no fault of anybody's, but it still stinks.
Yeah, that's never fun when stuff is out of your control. I mean,
Especially,
except for not being hurt or something that you can't do it, like sports or a play, but when it's out of your control and you can't do it, that's even worse.
I mean, I was never involved in any of that when I was in high school, but I knew friends of mine that were, and like the plays would always be in March, sometime in March, they'd run for a week or two. But I know they started a lot of times before Christmas, practicing and working on them and building the sets. So I can't imagine the amount of hours that they put in, and just when they're about to, have their performances, it's gone.
Yeah, that's always a tough one.
So what Gab just put up in there about the princesses, I don't have a favorite princess in the movie, but what was the princess the time me and you went to Disney? And we were in there, we were meeting the princesses, and we were laughing and having a good time with that one.
It might have been just Cinderella or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
You're getting like me now. You don't remember.
Heck, I think the time you're talking about might have been like in 1996 or something. I don't know. Is that when, like, the first time I ever went? It was like 5.
I was right around there, 96, your first trip.
Yeah, it's the top 5 Disney movies. Okay. The princess ones. Cinderella would probably be 1. Snow White would be 2. I like Tangled. That's a good one. Rapunzel. That would probably be a number 3 or 4. Oh, man. Maleficent would have to be up in there. That I'd probably bump Tangled down to 4 and put Maleficent up at 3, especially like the newer ones. They came up really good, especially the newest one that just came out last year. That was outstanding. We saw that in theaters.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but my favorite is probably Snow White. I just watched that movie a few weeks ago too on Disney Plus, and that was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. Also, there's just so many of them. When we were when we talked about this earlier, trying to put our list together, like there's so many of them. It's just like, well, I watched this one a lot, and it's just hard to put them into a list.
Yeah, you kind of have to go with which ones you're most nostalgic about, as opposed to like the actual best ones, because you could just keep talking on and on about Disney movies and trying to label. Everybody's going to have their own opinions too, but man, that's the one thing about Disney films in general, that you just can't pick which one you love the most because they're all good.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, there hasn't been too many flops over the years. I mean, there's some movies that have been all right, but for the most of them, especially the ones that Walt was involved with, there really wasn't a flop back then.
Well, yeah, it's because like how involved he was with it, and he did not want to turn out a terrible product, and he was just so caring, and he put his heart and soul into pretty much every film. That's why Mary Poppins ended up coming to fruition, because he really wanted to see it happen, because his daughters loved the book and he wanted to do that for them. And when somebody is the head of the company is that involved in each individual movie, they're not going to be bad.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, he was definitely hands-on. He wasn't just a pencil, pushing CEO. He was definitely hands-on from every aspect. That's for sure. The only thing with the Snow White, the Seven Mines Train, the roller coaster in Magic Kingdom, don't know what it is. Every time you can't get a fast pass for it. And I was just down there a few weeks ago when I did the 1-day trip to go down to visit Dole Whip Dad and meet up with him for the day. We tried to get on, and there was a lot of rides that closed that day. So everybody got any fast pass that you could use anywhere. And we tried to get on there with the fast pass, and the line was all the way back around to the back of it by the Little Mermaid ride. And it's like, I've never seen a fast pass line that long. I don't know what it is with that ride. It's a few years old, and that's still probably one of the most popular rides in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that when you got back from Disney this last time. Yeah, that must have came out, what, a couple years ago now? Because the last time I was there, it wasn't there for sure.
Yeah, it's been a few years now, and that one and the Peter Pan, that's also another one that the lines are usually around the corner, out of the building, out of the queue, and around the corner. And the fast passes, you can never get them for either of those rides. At least I haven't been lucky enough to get one. That's for sure in a long time. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what else
made the comment there. What were the two brothers? He said that Walt had great songwriters. What were the two brothers? And that they were shown pretty prominent in Saving Mr. Banks. And I believe the one of them just passed away not too long ago. One of they were brothers. Pretty much did all the songwriting for the Disney movies back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. I can't remember their names either. I think they might have did.
He just brought it up. The Sherman Brothers. That's
Sherman Brothers. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see a total of all the songs that they wrote for Disney movies, but I bet you the list is really, really long. And there's some, great tunes that were written over the years by those two.
I can't remember if they did anything on them or brought them up at all in that Disney documentary that's on Disney Plus from when Walt started thinking about Disneyland in California. Did they bring them up at all in that? I don't remember.
Yeah, I forget. Is that part of the Imagineering story?
Imagineering story, yeah. I want to say they did briefly, but they needed to do a whole nother episode or something just on these brothers because they were involved in some all-time classics.
Tracy just brought up the Song from Hell. It's a Small World. I love that ride. But when you come out of there, you can't get that song out of your head for hours.
Yeah, it just drives me nuts. You'd walk by it. I remember the one time we didn't even go on it when we visited Disneyland in California. And we just walked by it and had the song stuck in our head when we were around the way to the Matterhorn.
Yeah, I wrote it once, and actually in Disney land in California, It's a Small World is way better than the Magic Kingdom. I mean, it's a ride in itself, just outside watching all the moving pieces of the building. And you actually load on the boats outside of the building and go into It's Small World. But yeah, and then when they decorate it up at Christmas, I haven't been lucky.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
That and the Haunted Castle out in Disneyland. I really would love to get out there and see both of those rides at Christmas time when they do the Jack Skellington or whatever out of Disneyland.
And my wife just brought up in the chat, what are your favorite and most catchy Disney songs? Well, that would definitely be one of the most catchy Disney songs ever. I don't know about favorite, though. I know a lot of people like it, but, oh, man, it just gets stuck in your head and it just keeps going and going.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I was watching a movie a couple weeks ago with Kaylee, and anybody wasn't here, that's my oldest stepson, his daughter, so it's my granddaughter. And she's just getting into the Disney movies now, and I don't know why, but we're getting her hooked on them. Her big one now is Woody and Buzz, but she's been watching Frozen, and all she's got to do is you hold up a picture of Elsa or whatever from Frozen, and she starts singing Let It Go, and she's 2.5. She doesn't know all the words, but she knows Let It Go.
When you texted me a couple of days ago that you were saying you put on Frozen 2 for her, and she started singing Let It Go and was pissed that it wasn't in this movie.
Yeah, she looked, where's Let It Go? She kept saying, where's Let It Go?
Oh, man, that's funny.
Figure out why she was singing them and it wasn't in that movie.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the top catchy songs from nowadays. Even their newer soundtrack off of Frozen 2 has a lot of great songs. And they did a couple remakes with very popular bands with the songs in that show. Weezer did a cover to one of them, too. I think Panic at a Disco did a cover of the other one. And they turned out pretty good. As far as all time, Bare Necessities was one of my favorites and most catchy songs. And I'm trying to think of what else from Aladdin. Everything in Aladdin to me, pretty much.
Yeah, Richard, the Orlando guy, just put up his favorite Disney songs, and his number 5 is Bare Necessities. That was a good one. And I'm really that's not a little higher, Richard. I'm surprised that's number 1 because you You know, I'm sure I can picture you in the accent singing that song, the French accent, singing it.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Under the Sea, yeah, you can't go without The Little Mermaid and Under the Sea. That's definitely one of the more catchy and popular songs. Hi Ho from Snow White. Oh yeah,
Now, what's
that's another one.
Richard has on here an actor's life for me. What is that from? That's slipping me here.
An Actor's Life for Me. Oh man, I don't know. That's getting me too. He's gonna have to post that in the chat.
Yeah, Out There from Hunchback Day. Yeah, that is a good song. But to be our guest, I really like that.
Oh, Pinocchio. Okay, got it.
Oh, I'll have to look at that, Tracy. Is that on your channel? Dancing with Baloo and King Louie. I'll have to go check that out when we get done tonight. Yeah, I like when they dance outside of the Country Bear Jamboree out there, and I don't know why that attraction seems like it's dying off. The lines used to be out of the building waiting to get in to see the Country Bear Jamboree, and now you can pretty much just walk in there. But that's one of my favorite stops in the Magic Kingdom. But I'm a sucker for the old stuff. Like the new stuff is okay, but you know, I love the old stuff. Pirates, and the Haunted Mansion, and the Country Bear Jamboree, because those are the things I remember my first time, you know, going in March of '72 was my first trip to Disney World. And yeah, that was a great trip and a trip to remember. I was grounded when I got home. I was good on the trip because we were on vacation, but when I got home, I was grounded for 2 weeks. Because I don't know if you guys have listened to the podcast, but my claim to fame when I was 9 years old at Disney World, we stayed at the Contemporary, and they had two wings then. The one at Bay Lake Tower is now, they tore the one wing down, but we stayed at the tower closest to the I guess you call it the cut through that takes you to the two lakes in the Magic Kingdom. And we brought a friend down with me, and we were supposed to be in the arcade at the Contemporary playing video games and pinball machines. And we decided to take a walk, and we found an open door next to the roller coaster, next to Space Mountain. And Magic Kingdom was closed, but we found our way in there, and we were walking around the track to the Speedway, and we got arrested by security. But it was pretty cool though. I got to see the security offices up above Main Street. That was pretty interesting. I got a backstage tour.
Yeah, you got an insider look at what the security is like at Disney in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's not a shocker.
Yeah, go figure. I got locked up at 9 years old in Disney World, and then I became a cop. Go figure.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome in.
My dad wasn't too happy with that when they called. I said, well, we're staying at the Contemporary, and they got a hold of my dad on the phone, and they dropped us off, and my dad had to meet security out front. And I think this was our first night that we got there. Like the trip hadn't even started yet. We just got there like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that night there we are getting walked up to the security office above, I guess it's about where the Starbucks is now. Used to be the bakery. There's a little alleyway there, and they walk you back there, and there's stairs, and up on the second floor, that's their main security office up there.
Oh man, like when I was in college, I used to just go over to downtown Disney Springs now, and just sit at the Ghirardelli's, have an ice cream for lunch, and then I go back over to Daytona. Tell you how many times I've been over to Disney.
My own heart, it loves his ice cream.
Oh, every time you walk past Ghirardelli's, they're making their waffle cones. I have to go in, like it's a must.
I'm trying to read some of the chat here, read back some of the things I missed here. Yeah, Tracy says the Country Bear is also a must for him too. I love it. I don't know what it is. I get it. I crack up with the moose on the wall, and then when the female bear drops down out of the sink.
Yep.
Forget her name. Is that Penelope? Is that her name? Or I forget her name, that drops down out of the ceiling. The flower petals open up, and
yeah.
I'd love the Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah, that's a good one. Even when I was a kid, I remember you taking me into that, and that being one of my favorites going into. We always head over that way first, hit Pirates, and then Country Bear Jamboree, and then work our way around the Haunted Mansion and over in what was it, Hall of Presidents, and yep. A lot of good memories over on that side.
No, Tracy, I haven't done the back tour yet, and I want to do it. A friend of mine that just moved, he retired last year, and he moved down to Davenport, just west of Disney, and he's done it. Their kids have done it. And I think there's 2 tours, and they said take the longer one because it takes you everywhere in there, and they said it was awesome. Now, Bill's older stepbrother, Brian, he went to school at Embry-Riddle. He's an air traffic controller now. And he stayed in Orlando after he graduated for about a year, and he worked for Disney. He drove the monorail for a little over a year at Disney, and he told us some of the stories about, you know, underneath the Magic Kingdom and the offices, and it was pretty cool. The first day that you know, they started their job, their orientation, they bring them into a room, and that's where they give them their badges, their name badges, and they get their badges handed to them the first time by Mickey Mouse. Comes in and gives all the new employees their badges. I thought that was pretty cool. But he said the underneath of the Magic Kingdom, he said that's an attraction in itself.
Oh yeah, well, they designed it to make everything happen down there so that they could work on stuff and deliver stuff throughout the day without interfering with anybody up top. This is a great idea, especially they come out with it when they did. It was like ingenious. I'd really like to take a tour down there. Let's see. Tracy and Kenzie said Keys of the Kingdom is worth it. I'm gonna have to check that out too.
Which one did you do, Tracy? Did you do? I think it's a 4-hour, and the other one is like a 6 or a 7-hour. I know there's 2 different ones. Maybe the Keys to the Kingdom. Maybe that's the longest one. I think the longer one, they said they give you lunch with it, and all that's included. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Yeah, definitely Orlando Go. Blood on the saddle, blood on the ground. Yeah, that's it. Love the Country Bear Jamboree. Okay, you went down in the tunnels too. Yeah, that's cool. They say underneath there, it's a city in itself. And it's crazy too because that's built actually at ground level, and then they just built the park on top of it.
It was easier
than
digging everything up and putting it under like subterranean.
Yeah,
way easier, more cost effective.
We have to do that. Yeah, while we're still in here, Tracy, I know you had a trip planned recently that you were going to go down. I think you were going to do the Star Wars race or the 5K or the 10K. I guess that trip got canceled, huh?
Yeah, that'd be a bummer. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, they were down there a little while. The Magic Steam Train tours, I would love to do that. I really like the I don't know if it was it the Imagineering story where they're doing the little clips. They're like 7 to 8 minute episodes.
One Day at Disney.
One Day at Disney. One of the first ones was the guy who runs the train. He's the train engineer out at Disneyland. And that was a pretty interesting episode of that. I really enjoyed that one. I love riding the train at the Magic Kingdom. I usually just get on and just keep riding around. I do a couple laps around the Magic Kingdom. Then eventually, if I get on in the front, I'll eventually get off in the back. Yeah, I would say, Tracy, is that early April or is that mid-April that race was supposed to be? They're saying Disney 2 weeks. There's no way they're going to be open in 2 weeks. I can't see Disney opening until mid to late May at this point, the way it's going. I just saw today they postponed the Kentucky Derby. That's going to be September 4th now, Labor Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
That's the first time it hasn't run on the first Saturday of May in 150 or 160 years. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, everything's getting pushed back now that CDC recommendation came out last week. So we'll have to see how it goes. I heard they're pretty close to a vaccine with it. They're running clinical trials now.
Yeah, but that's a year away. Now, I just did see today, I think it was out in Washington because there was a lot of people come down with it out there. But they had some guy on the evening news tonight that they wound up giving him the vaccine or whatever they had for Ebola when that, however long ago that was. And he said within 48 hours, he was like almost back to normal after getting that shot, whatever the vaccine or whatever it was for the Ebola at the time. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope they don't stay closed too long. I mean, they're showing aerial photos now on Facebook of the parks, and it actually looks kind of depressing. Like during the day, it's like a ghost town.
I saw somebody did a video and they put it up, and it's one of the people I'm subscribed to. And somehow I thought Disney was a no-fly zone over, but they flew over in a helicopter video in the Magic Kingdom, and there was a car that's all you saw was a car down in front of Tony's restaurant at the beginning of Main Street. I mean, there was nothing. It was a ghost town.
Yeah, it's just workers doing their maintenance, keeping up with it. I mean, they're probably good to get in there and keep everything up and fix things that were maybe having some problems before that they have time to fix before everybody gets back in the park. It's a good time for it, but it still stinks that it's going just time wasted, really.
Yeah, it's a shame. But one thing, Disney's kind of been doing the right thing. That's for sure. I had a friend of mine. I was talking to him, I guess yesterday or the day before, and they were supposed to go on a Disney cruise. And Disney's given people that had cruises booked the option. They'll either refund your money or they'll just keep whatever, your money if you've already paid for your cruise. And what they're going to do is they're going to give you 125% credit or something towards a future cruise. Now, which is big because the Disney cruises are definitely more expensive than regular cruises, but they're definitely doing right by people, it seems like. Now, I've seen online in a couple rooms today, and I think somebody made the comment on our Facebook page of one of the posts I made today that I guess they had a family of like 10 or 11 that came over from the UK.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be here for a couple weeks, and it was like a $40,000 trip for them. And they were supposed to stay, I forget what hotel in Disney World, but they got to be out by Friday, and they're trying to, find someplace else to go because they can't the flight has stopped now, I think, between here and there, or I don't know what the circumstances were, but situations like that, they can't help. I'm sure that's the reason and why they did the closing of the hotels. They announced it a few days ahead of time to give people a chance to try and make other reservations or try to get out of there early or whatever, but at least they're trying to do the right thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, that just stinks. I mean, talking about wrong place, wrong time. Like, man, I don't want to see anybody in that situation. Hopefully Disney will come up with some sort of accommodation for them, refund them their whole thing, plus that 125% credit on another trip. That would be a great idea. I could see them doing something like that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Kay. I've been trying to I haven't been watching the news because, I mean, they just overhype it, and it's crazy. I've been following the CDC's website. That's where I've been getting all my info. And I don't know if once you get it, you don't get the exact strain again. I don't know, but I just don't understand it. The flu is bad every year, and it kills, I don't know how many thousands of people. I mean, if anybody dies from anything, it sucks, but I just don't understand I don't understand the rationale why this is so big, but they don't make a big deal of the regular flu season every year. I don't understand the whole backstory of it here. There's more to this, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out. Excuse me, but I wouldn't say I'm excited for this closure, but I want to see what they're going to do if they're going to do that release Mulan on demand on the 27th, and you can rent it for 2 days, or maybe they just go straight to Disney Plus with it. That way Disney Plus subscribers could have it right away. And that's another way for them to get more subscribers on Disney Plus too, is if they're releasing movies that were supposed to come out in theaters straight to Disney Plus. I mean, who knows? We'll see where it goes because of this, quarantine, and it's probably about half the country now. So
yeah, now that you're talking about Disney Plus, I just saw it today also. I think that's going live this week or in the next couple of days, over in England and the UK and Europe and stuff, like different places over there. So they're probably going to have Disney Plus now.
Yeah, that'll be good for them too, because I know it's hitting them way harder than it is over here. Not so much the UK, but mainland Europe, it's hitting them real hard over there with all the, especially Italy and stuff like that. They're getting the worst of it.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I did see that tonight that the 4 basketball players and Kevin Durant was one of them that tested positive, and supposedly none of them. They haven't told you who the other 3 were. Kevin Durant came out and said, yeah, he's one that tested positive, but they don't have any symptoms yet. And I haven't heard anything about the basketball player from the Jazz, the first guy that tested positive, but the second guy, he was on SportsCenter earlier, and he still has no symptoms. So it's just crazy how it affects people differently.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just like a dry, itchy throat with a slight cough, and you have a fever, and that's pretty much it. It all depends on your immune system, but I don't know. We'll see how this thing plays out.
How's it down there? I mean, your kids, they were in spring break last week, and now they're off. Um,
Yeah.
what's is it as big down there? I mean, do you have as many cases you heard in Texas, or it really hasn't hit Texas that bad yet?
So we have only maybe one or two confirmed cases in the whole state and one presumptive case in our county. So it's not really hitting us too hard. We were out grocery shopping today. I stayed in the car with the kids, and my wife went in and then, did our whole hand sanitizer thing before she got back in the car. And then we made sure we had everything wiped down before we went in the house. But yeah, it's pretty much life as usual. It's same as the rest of the country. There's no milk or eggs. We had to buy soy milk, I think, today, and we did get a couple of dozen eggs, so that was good. But I mean, the school levels are at they have three stages. Three is obviously the emergency, and we're at two right now. So they've only did it. They're doing like a week by week basis, seeing what the surrounding area has to offer as far as protection or what's going on in general throughout the whole state. So we're only at level 2. So that was enough to get them out another week for spring break. So yay, kids are at home longer.
Yeah, right. That's all right, Tracy. If you got info with this craziness, that's no problem at all. Oh, well. All right. I guess we kind of got off our main topic for the night, which was going to be movies. And I guess we'll get ready to end it here. And we'll figure out something we're going to do. I know this week, that's why I kind of threw this together tonight real quick. Last night, me and Jeff were supposed to take a couple 5, 10, 15-minute episodes that we're going to put out over time on the baseball show we're going to do. And then last night, like I said, we were going to do that, and he texted me about 10 after 11 my time here. It was 10 o'clock for him. He's an hour behind down there. He was so beat when he got home, he fell asleep. I guess he runs a nonprofit down there with kids and after-school programs and stuff like that. And I guess everybody and their brother has been coming to him, what's going on, and running him ragged. So we're going to put it on hold, I guess, for a week or so until things die down with him. And there's not a lot of baseball stuff to talk about now anyway. So I guess we're not going to be missing anything except our old baseball stories. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could kind of go over, NL East, NL Central, all the different divisions. And I know you guys talked about a little bit the last time you and Jeff were on there, Dole Whip Dad, about, who you saw in the NL and ALCS, but that's a whole different topic for a different, different broadcast.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back to it next week. We're eventually we're going to do that. We're going to try and do 1 or 2 live shows a week. And I know he was going to the live place to see what slots were available. And even though our topic's way different than Disney for this show, because we started a new channel, Bush League Baseball. And in the beginning, we're going to have the shows on Jeff's channel, and then we're going to repurpose them and put them up on the Bush League. But eventually we're going to go back and forth and do live from the Bush League and then from Jeff's channel. So we're going to go back and forth. Once baseball gets back, that's going to keep us busy this summer doing, some 5-10 minute shows, the videos to put up recorded, and then the live shows a couple nights a week. So that should be fun. All right. I guess we're going to get out of here, guys. Guys that came in that were in chat, thanks for coming. Tracy, Kay, Jeffrey, the Orlando guy, and Noel and Charlie. I don't know if they're still here. They might have stepped out. I know they had just got home from work when we started. Anybody that's in here, if you haven't checked out our Facebook page yet, if you go to Facebook, we're on there, the Magic of the Mouse, or Magic of the Mouse on Facebook. We just crossed over 7,000 followers this past weekend, and now we're up to, I think I just checked today, we're up to 7,250. So that's growing pretty good. We just opened that up and started that Facebook page back in August. So I guess in about 7 months, I have, 7,250 people following us now, and we're doing pretty good on there. And then we're also on Instagram, and Bill's big and he scours the internet for any kind of Disney stories that we can share on our Facebook page. And I have a boatload of, I'm a retired sports photographer, but I have a lot of Disney photos, recent and older ones. And I've been putting up on the Facebook and Instagram page every day. And, like Magic of the Mouse photo of the day, we call them. So it's just something for people to look at in this time of craziness. And, since you can't go to Disney, at least you have something to pass the time a little bit. So if you want to check us out there, we appreciate it. and we'll probably come up with something again, maybe later in the week or next week. We'll see what kind of time slots are available that we can sneak on here. So thanks for everybody for being in the chat tonight. We appreciate